Well, it's obviously interesting given what we've been seeing in the market, right? There's been these sort of AI scare trades that are coming for almost every industry, each day. And so, I think Jamie obviously was like expressing some caution around the different parts of the sector, but he also did note, JPMorgan is using AI. They're trying to figure out how best they can use it at the bank so that they can make things faster for their clients. And he was even talking about how they're having to think about using, what they can do job-wise for their employees that are being sort of, in a way, AI is sort of encroaching on their territory.
So there's the AI angle, and then there's what Jamie Dimon has said about private credit as well. When you saw Tricolor and First Brands blow up last year, he was talking about cockroaches. If you see one, there's likely to be others. What is JPMorgan's exposure to private credit? What has the bank done on private credit so far?
Well, they are a big lender overall. So I think he does caution that, they're not totally immune from any credit cycle that will come around. But, I think they're trying to be careful. And it's interesting because you see different banks take different approaches. You've seen Morgan Stanley be very active in sort of underwriting of data centers and some of these big projects. I think JPMorgan has been a bit more cautious in some of these businesses, but it's hitting everything these days. I mean, AI really does play into every industry, but I also think he's also getting at the sentiment in the market, right? Things are highly valued. Like there is really this feeling that like you have to be on guard about where the risk might come next. And yeah, just in case it is a big crisis again.
Jamie Dimon expressed that he thinks JPMorgan will be a winner in the AI race. I liked how he framed it here. Expecting to win in 75 out of 100 areas and lose in 25. Did he expound on that at all?
Yeah, I thought that was funny because he's right. There's a lot of businesses that will pick a niche and they will dig deep into that. So they will make sure that they're very good in one thing. And I think that was him acknowledging that like JPMorgan's going to go hard in many of the different businesses, but there are going to be competitors who pick off certain segments of the market and do it, extremely well. So I think that was some acknowledgement of like, you can't always, you could try your hardest, but if you want to be the best in so many different markets, you're going to have to sort of pick your battles in a way.
Right. That goes back to the idea where he sees a couple of people doing some dumb things and the parallels to the era before the great financial crisis. Did he at any point say anything that suggested what some of those dumb things are?
Well, he mentioned, obviously, things that would boost your net interest income. So I think it's, a sort of aggressive lending that we might be seeing. He did mention, obviously, sort of the risks with AI and software and those companies. I think he's being a little cautious on exactly where he thinks, the strain is. But he did bring up a couple points where it's like, you got to be careful about AI. You got to be careful on credit. You have to pick your battles. You have to make sure you're really underwriting stuff in a way that, if something bad does happen, you understand your risk exposure and sort of you're being a little more cautious there.
While we're talking Jamie Dimon, I always feel like I always have to ask, what's the latest that he's been saying about succession?
Yes, it's always the famous.
I tell you what, he looks as good as he's looked in 10 years.
Yeah,
He
clarified for the audience he had a cast, but it was merely because he had necessary hand surgery. So no, things look good for Jamie Dimon. I mean, obviously, he did. The question was asked at this investor day yesterday, and he did clarify that obviously he will remain as long as him and the board are in agreement of that. He expects years to be CEO and then maybe executive chairman after that. So I would say it's not much clarity, frankly. I think it's kind of his repeated line of he's around for the next 5.
I think if you're shareholders, you're like, dude, stay as long as you want, right? I mean,
there doesn't appear to be clamoring from shareholders for, any defined line of succession, although he has said that, he's made changes and he's put people in place. It's still a pretty big stable of people.
Yeah, they have a deep bench, honestly. And I think, that will always draw analysts and investors' concern is just making sure that deep bench stays around, despite the fact that Jamie is also staying around. But yeah, I would agree that obviously shareholders seem pretty.
Well, he's about to turn 70 in March 13th.
He's the longest serving CEO among the big banks?
Of the big banks, yes. Yeah.
So longer than Brian Moynihan because he was there before the financial crisis, right?
Yes.